Today, we are having a testimony and discussion with two different people from my brothers, um, Bishop and Elder Devon Searchwell and Brother Hope. And what can we expect tonight? I think what most of us may be lacking and out of the box thinking. More of an Abraham journey of faith thinking, as far as country living goes. I was talking to Brother Searchwell, and he highlighted something that I have seen also with the brethren. When we hear country living, especially here in the UK, people think, oh, maybe south of England because it's nice and warm, but that's if you can afford it. Or if you've got a little bit of a lesser budget, people go to Wales, and even less, maybe some people want to think of going to Scotland. But is that God's will? Let us sit back and relax and listen as the brethren share.
I moved to Scotland in 2018, February. So I hadn't kind of like moving between the two places, England and Scotland. But eventually, I think that was mainly during the COVID era. So I spent most of it there. And basically, what we did there was to set up the place. It was kind of like difficult in a way. The places that we had visited, most of them had gone. So the Lord brought it to us at the last minute. So we got going. And during the lockdown, all we were doing is to put up a polytunnel and put up also a place outside the polytunnel where we cultivated a number of things. So we did that at times. So we went through that during the COVID time. What we really wanted to do is to be self-sufficient, but also to try to earn a living out of it. So I think one of the years that we only had 1 year where we actually supplied there was a brother locally that did some veggie boxes. Basically, at that time, some of you may recall that people were not very keen going out to do shopping. So this particular family were quite fortunate that they started supplying these veggie boxes. Basically, it was fruit and vegetables. So we supplied it kale. So that went on during that part of that season. So about a year or so, over a year ago, I just thought, I'm originally from Uganda. I'm from Uganda. I speak the language as well. So for some reason, I don't know, even up to now, I just think I decided to go to Uganda. And I only decided to be there for 3 months. And lo and behold, now it's been over a year. So I haven't been back to the UK for over a year. And what occurred to me really, and this is where I contacted Brother Talent and said, look, I'm on this platform, but much of here is our brothers and sisters and families that are actually looking places within either UK or just a little bit over Europe. But there are opportunities there. So it's to widen the opportunity to go actually beyond the continent, so to speak, or Europe, as it were, to see where God could actually open inroads, and to be able to move to places. And I'll tell you briefly, I've been here in and out of the country in Uganda, and what we've been able to do at the moment now, we have planted a plantation, fruit, vegetables, And at the moment, I'm in the process of, by God's grace, trying to set up a sanitarium. So that's where really I am. And I thought, okay, you know, when we look at in terms of setting up these things, it is less less taxing financially compared, and especially if you are in a position where you can work offline, that you don't need to be in the country, that will be suitable for that kind of person or family. So I contacted Brother Searchwell because he's been doing quite a lot of missionary work around different parts of the world, different parts in Africa as well, been to different countries. So I said, look, I think this is something that we could actually bring to brethren, and they might be able to pray about it, you know. And I'm aware this is not for everyone, but it is an opportunity for each one of us who may be interested, you know, pray and go and try to see what the Lord is actually what would do for us, so that we don't limit our Heavenly Father, just within the country or just a little bit over into Europe. There are opportunities, and as I say, it's not necessarily the conveniency, but that also plays a part. But yeah, basically that is it. So I thought I'll get in touch with Brother Searchwell. First of all, I got in touch with Brother Talent, and also then with Elder Searchwell, to see whether we can put something together where, you know, we could speak to brothers and sisters and see how we can actually finish the great final work. And as I say, you know, to set up something in these countries is much more easier. Yes, you have to do your background. Yeah, there are risks like everywhere else. But sometimes through the media, what I actually found that the risks sometimes are overstretched or overplayed. I remember there was a time I was over here and I spoke to a friend of mine. So I say, he says, you know, I would like to come down there, but there's an outbreak of, I think it was Ebola or something like that. I can't remember exactly. And I said, man, I've been here for months and I haven't seen no Ebola anywhere. You know, it's this sort of thing that people or the media keeps pumping around, but there is no signs of it. But even if there was, it's for us to be cautious and prayerful so that God directs us and leads us in all the decisions that we make. So yeah, I don't know whether Brother Searchwell, you want to add on anything onto that, or if there are any questions or anything like that. But as I say to you, the running costs are really, really low. And I was giving an example. I think that's when I came offline. For example, where I am, I've got no expense whatsoever. I've got no electricity bill because I don't use electricity. I use a little solar system. I have rainwater I use. What else is there? The only thing that I could say is a gas cylinder, but even that, if it came push to shove or shove to push, there's firewood I can actually go out and collect and use that. And as I say, that I'm in the middle of trying to set up a sanitarium by God's grace. So the building work is going on. It's quite dear in the sense, but by God's grace, the work will be completed. So, as I say, you know, there's nothing that people could not be able to use, as long as they're willing to, rough it out, because it can be really difficult. As I say, you know, that there is no flushing toilets, for example. I haven't had, funds yet to try to get a septic tank. So what I have is a pit latrine. So I make sure everything, you know, is done. In terms of the bathroom as well, you know, there's no indoor bathroom. So I use I go outside. There is a little like latrine and also a shed where it's private, so you can go on with your basin of water, have yourself a shower, and that is it. You know, the people are great and nice, and yeah, there's not much else I can add on. So I don't know whether Mr. Brother Searchwell could come in, or if there is any questions, or you feel I've left out anything.
Thanks for having me. Let me extend greetings to all viewers and listeners. I just actually seen a message from somebody in the countryside out there in Botswana. That's a beautiful place. I want to go to Botswana. But yes, when we think of country living, first of all, we have to ask ourselves the question, whose initiative? Now, it's the initiative of God. And so when it comes to country living, there are two things to take into consideration. One is obedience. We do this because of obedience to God. The next thing is faith, our faith in God. And our faith must be tested. When I left Jamaica over 30 years ago, when God called me, I was in a good job, and I thought that everything was all right. I'm in a good job, and I could live a good Christian life, reach out to people, and assist in ways, in whatever ways I could at the time. But then when God called and said that I should go out, I never had a clue where I was going. At the time, I had a cousin who was he was in the church, and when he came over, and I said to him that God said that I should go out to work for him. He said to me that there's a way that seemed right to a man, but the end thereof are ways of death. That was his words of consolation. When I said to my employer that I was leaving, I was going to work for the Lord, he in turn asked me, will the church pay you? I said, well, I don't know about the church paying me. I'm trusting God. And he looked at me, and he said that, he called me by name. He said that you make religion turn you a fool. Now, I had to walk by faith, and I must say there are times when I did shed some tears, because I never knew what was happening. Is the first that I would have to walk by faith and not by sight. And just to fast track, I want us to know that we are all on a journey, and we need to make sure that we are living in the center of God's will and purpose for our lives. Now, tonight, my story is a little bit different from that of Hope, but we have got close collaborations, and I know what he's doing, and he knows that I run around quite a bit. So I travel between Asia and Africa, but I quite like Africa, and where he's talking about in Uganda, I quite like Uganda, because Uganda is a strategic place. It's a place of a lot of water, and you've got sun. So if you want to build, you don't have to rely on the government. You can always drill for water. That is there plenty. You can use solar, and that is extremely good. The good thing about that is that you can cultivate, you can get the local people, you can help them by cultivating, and also you help them to be good Christians and help them to become self-sufficient as well. So for me, because I travel around a little bit, I've got projects up in Ghana, and I've got project out there in Uganda as well. So all that I want to get at is that for many of us, when we think of country living, we think of Wales and Scotland. Presently, I'm living in Scotland, but I am up and about all around. We always think of Scotland or Wales. What we need to do is to really find out from God what He wants for us, because God just doesn't want His people to remain in Judea or in Jerusalem. He wants His people to begin in Jerusalem. They are to go to Judah, down to Samaria, and to the ends of the world. So when I left Jamaica, I said to God that, listen, by thy grace, I want to go to the ends of the earth with the everlasting gospel. To this very day, it's me and God on the Jericho Road. We travel together, and every now and again, I go to a new country. In fact, this year, I will travel to 2 different countries that I have never been before. So we want to make sure that God is leading and guiding and directing, and don't fix our mind, say, well, listen, I want to be in Wales, or I want to be in Scotland. We need to see the world as a field for God. And together with God, we reach out to the ends of the world, and wherever there is something to be done, we see that we get it done. So when I go to Uganda, there's a lot of work to be done in Uganda. I've got 10 children in Uganda that I literally help to take care of, pay their rent, and see to it that every month they get food and stuff like that. I am looking for land so that I can employ the local people so that they can work, they can help themselves. And in the same breath of time, I am at a position where I can reach out to the community, reach out to the people. I am the kind of person who I think big. So I'm believing that I can stay here and I can reach way out for God. We serve a big God, and we should not allow ourselves to settle for little. We are to reach out for big things. Now, if you think it is safe to live in the city, just look at what's happening in Gaza at this moment. Let's say we wake up tomorrow morning and Russia start to rain bombs over into Britain. Where you think they're sending those missiles? They're sending them to London, to Edinburgh, to Birmingham. They're aiming for the cities. These are the places that they're knocking out first. And so God is saying to His people, come out of the city. You stay on the outskirts and go into the city and work. When I came to Scotland, I realized that it was going to be a challenge, but God is big. So I lived 20 odd miles out of the city, and I had to commute into the city most days, and it takes a lot of fuel. But I can say every single week God provide for me up until this day. In fact, I don't worry about money. I am not the kind of person with money stuck up in the bank. I do not have no money in the bank. I live by faith, and I can tell you, I do much work for the Lord. In fact, it's just a couple of weeks ago, the Lord reminded me that since we started together, we have raised up 6 churches around the world. So we need to work with God. Don't just believe that it's in Wales and it's out there in Scotland. Begin to look at Africa, because right now, Africa needs a lot of help. It needs people to invest. It needs people to reach out and to win souls for God. So if we've got some money, the money that you would spend down there in Wales or Scotland to buy polytunnel and to experiment to get just one naked crop for the year, you can find a nice piece of land out there in Africa, and you can cultivate, you can have food right around the year, because there are some crops that you just put them in and they will continue to produce all year round. You've got short-term crops, you can do fruits and vegetables. All of these things you can have, you can sell, you can get money, you can put in the work, but in the same breath of time, there are local people who need to know the Lord, need to come to the Lord, and it's a way if you treat them good. And let me say this, I have seen people from here going to Africa, and because of the system there, some of them will employ people and work out how much they can get for £2. No, we don't treat people like that. We are Christians. If the government is giving £2, you can give £10, pay the people £10, give them something so that they can feel happy. When they see Christianity in you, they will want to serve the God that you serve. So that's what I'm saying. We just don't
Amen.
have to stay here in the UK. We can invest in Africa, invest in Asia. The world is the field for God, and we must do all that lies in our power to reach people and to assist in whatever way that we can to finish the gospel.
I wanted to say something that we probably have shared in a conversation, a telephone conversation. And the first thing is, what you gentlemen are talking about is the faith of Abraham. Abraham left Ur of the Chaldees, which is Babylon. That's the first call out of Babylon, Revelation 18. Abraham was called out of Babylon, and he went to a country that he didn't know, and that sounded bonkers. It was a mad thing to do. But so is the third angel's message. And at the center of the third angel's message is the scripture that the just shall live by faith, not by sight. Yeah. And Abraham went knowing not where he was going, but God provided for him. In fact, God did more than that. God enriched Abraham. And then you compare him with Lot. Lot lost everything because of greed. And those are the two examples that we can follow. The city example is Lot, and the country living is Abraham. But also, while we are at the same note, we can learn something from the disciples. They were there in Jerusalem. They were there in Jerusalem for training. All 12 of them, including Judas and the replacements, or the replacements. But once the time was due, they were spread all over the world. Some of them died in India, Africa, everywhere. And there is proof, evidence that the whole world, in fact, Paul wrote and says the gospel had been preached to every creature. In other words, to the whole world. And that was a movement of just 12 plus Christ. Who is it, that deist from France who says, you boast that the Christian church was started by 12 men, and I will prove how one man is enough to stop it. Voltaire boasted that he would destroy Christianity, and where there was a few Bibles, there were plenty of Bibles, and then Bible societies came, and the irony of it is Voltaire's house was turned into a Bible printing press. You don't say that against God. So God can start big things. But what am I talking about? I'm talking about us being missionaries. I think we also mentioned about prospects of even former enslaved people, Brother Searchwell, and how countries like Ghana are offering free land to people, and that you can discuss with Brother Searchwell or even myself. They're offering free land to former enslaved people for an admin charge. Pray about it. But we are not saying go to Africa. We are saying go to where God wants you to be. The mission field is the globe, and that's our mission. I think it was Alonso Trevier Jones, A.T. Jones, who I think is one of the Third Angels series, the Loud Cry message, and he said we can't have a citizenship. We can no longer, as Christians, have a citizenship, and we cannot be patriotic. And he was talking about some people who were coming from America and going to mission fields, and they become so homesick that even boats have been sent to get them back home. And he said, you cannot be a citizen and a patriot and be a missionary. That's why you read in Hebrews 11, talking about the heroes of faith, the Bible says they saw that they died not having received the promises, but they saw them from far off, and they embraced them, and they proclaimed that they were pilgrims in this earth. In other words, you cannot continue to be an English person, a Zimbabwean, a Jamaican, and still be a citizen of heaven. You can't have both countries. We have to be pilgrims. I mean, if we love the country that we belong to, our passports are just functional, but they don't mean anything. And the same A.T. Jones talked about a young couple who were married. They didn't have any children, and they went on a mission field. I think it was somewhere nice and warm. And the husband caught malaria, and the wife nursed him back to health. And then at the end of his sickness, the wife caught the sickness, and the husband did the same. And they were only young, so he was comparing them to the older people who had felt sick or homesick, that they had to return to America, but this stayed there. And such is our history when you look at some of the missionaries who started the work, even in Africa, in Zambia, in Zimbabwe, South Africa. Most of those people became native to those places, and they are buried there. They had that missionary spirit. So the missionary spirit is for God to direct our paths. For the just shall live by faith. I just wanted to add that little element. But if there is any questions or even any additions on the floor, the gentlemen are here, Brother Hope and Brother Searchwell. You can ask some questions. I just thought I would add that little element to it.
Happy Sabbath. I just wanted to ask, because I never thought about Africa, but can you, as an English citizen, go to Africa or any part of Africa to live? Yeah. I mean, won't they require something, you know, won't they, I don't know if there's any stipulations or anything.
I would say that the answer to that is yes. In fact, I have a friend of mine. He's Irish. I wanted to invite him, but it's not that he's not a church member, but his language can be a little bit explosive. But and I was actually quite amazed when I was talking to him about how many weeks, about maybe 3 weeks, 4 weeks back. I went and visited him, and he was actually giving me directions how to get home. And I was thinking, wow, you know, I was born in this country. Now he's a man, you know, he's just been here a couple of years, and he just knows his way in and out. Yeah, there are processes whereby you can acquire either dual citizenship. So it's something that you have to actually investigate and find out. You can call up an ambassador. With all these things, with all these places, as we have already said, pray about it, and where the Lord is actually impressing upon you to pursue, then you can start investigating, even calling up the embassy and asking questions. For this Irish friend of mine, he's telling me, I think it's about maybe a few weeks or a month or so left for him to actually get his papers, his residential papers. So after that, he will be able to do everything that he wants to do, buy land or acquire any property. So yeah, there are processes and that you can actually follow through, but it's a case of where you want to go or what country you want to go to, and then you can start finding out as much information as possible.
Oh, thank you for
I
that.
hope that answers your question.
Yeah, you need to know where the Lord wants you to go. First of all, you can always call the Foreign Office. You can inquire about it. But I know people from the UK who are now residing full-time in Zambia. Zambia is a very easy country of Ghana. Ghana is not so hard. Uganda, wherever the Lord wants you to go. You know, again, the elder just mentioned about walking by faith. You know, if I could write a book, it's just that I don't have time now to write a book. But when I left Jamaica, I had $2 naked in my pocket, and one naked bag. I took the bus to the airport. Yeah, with my bag. Half of it was my Bible and my spirit of prophecy. And when I ended up into the on the island, the first thing that the immigration officer asked me was, how much money you have to stay in the country? And I said to the lady, I've got $2. I just had to be honest. And when I told her I had $2, she pointed me to a bench over on the other side. And she said I should sit there. And I sat on the bench and I watched all the people. They checked through, and me alone was there sitting down. And then later on, when I look across at the conveyor belt, I saw my bag over there alone. Me sitting by myself, my bag over there sitting down. The immigration officer got up and she never even said to me, well, somebody soon come to be with you. Me alone sat there. And then later on, 2 custom officers came and they asked, they had my passport in their hand, and one of them asked, are you so-and-so? Yes, I am. I don't have a clue what's happening because I'm saying, God, you brought me to this place. I don't have a clue what's happening. Yeah, he asks, is that your bag over there? I say, yeah, that's my bag. He said, take your bag. I took my bag, followed them into a little room. And when I got in there, they started to interrogate me, and I don't have a clue what's happening. It's the first time traveling. Why God brought me in this, I don't know. You're gonna have to work with this. After they finish asking me the questions, they say I should open my bag. I pulled the zip backward, and they started to take off my 2 little pieces of clothes because I never had a lot. And they took off the 2 little pieces of clothes, and then when they finished with the clothes, the custom officer, he came up with my Bible. And when he came up with the Bible, it's like something burned him. He put back my Bible. And I heard when he muttered under his voice to the other one, say, he must be a man of good character. Yeah. With that, he tell me, zip up my bag. Yeah. They gave me my passport and I went away. Yeah. I am just telling you the long and short of it. I spent 3 months in that country. The deputy immigration officer stamped my book every 2 weeks until when, after almost 3 months, she came to me and she said that the director is saying that her signature is too many times in my passport. I still have that passport with me to this very day. And so she's not gonna be able to get any more time for me. There was a gentleman that I did some work for, and he said if there's anything he would recommend me. One day he called me and he said that there's a job at the airport. Why not apply for it? I applied for that job at the airport. They call me, interview me for the job. I am just cutting short so that I can get this in. The day that I was supposed to go back to Jamaica, it was a Friday. Yeah, the immigration, the person who interviewed me from the airport called me and said I should take my passport and go to the immigration officer because they have approved my permit to stay and to work in the country. I took my passport down to the immigration office. They stamped 6 months in it. I took it and I went back and I worked in that airport with the same immigration officers that I had to deal with that evening, with the same custom officers that interrogated me and searched my bag and everything. I worked there with them. The only time is when I got there, I realized that that bench that I sat on, when you sit on that bench, you're back on the next flight. I sat on that bench and I sat on there many times after, but on my free will. I have seen many people sat on it and then return back to their countries. I work in that place every 6 months. They stamp 6 more months in my passport. I stay in that place until God tells me where to move. I could go on and tell you things and things and things. The just shall live by faith until this very day. By the grace of God, it's me and God and Jericho Road, and it only gets sweeter as the days go by. So we must walk by faith and trust God all the time.
I wanted to say that my son told me he hobnobs with the very top echelons of society, and he told me that you can literally buy citizenship in any country of the world. The embassies will permit you to buy citizenship. So, for instance, in Panama, citizenship costs $150,000 US. You can buy citizenship. Undoubtedly, in African countries, it's probably very inexpensive compared to anywhere else, compared to westernized, big developed nations. Because African countries, everything is cheaper because it's just the way it is. They do so much with so little. So, you know, you can build a house, you know, in South Africa on a piece of land for like £30,000. Do you know what I'm saying? So I just thought I'd mention it because my son told me it is possible you can even buy UK citizenship. But you'd have to have a lot of money to buy UK citizenship. So citizenship is purchasable. That's all I wanted to tell you.
But also, while we are at it, Sister Fran, there is places where citizenship can, I mean, where land particularly can be gotten for free, especially more so for
in Africa.
Yeah, for the dark for Melanites, and this going back to slave trade, and there are people who are feeling that people who have been enslaved have been disenfranchised. Yes. Yeah. So basically what's happening is Ghana initiated it, and I saw a question about Gambia. People have been moving from the UK to Gambia, and I'm not talking about Adventists, but Ghana has been actively trying to attract people from the diaspora, and they're actually reaping benefits because most of the people that they're attracting are people who have got a little bit of money and a little bit of education, and these people are actually investing in Africa. So these are ways and means that God could use. But another place that has been doing that is South Africa. Brother Searchwell talked about Zambia. I also know about Zimbabwe has been doing that, but not as actively as Ghana. And there was a lady, a Pan-Africanist, who has been pushing this in the diaspora. I think her name is Arikana Chiombori. And there's a few people, some of them are doctors and you name it. They have had almost like an adoption in Zimbabwe and places. And there's a lot of information about these things on YouTube. But those who, and then there is also Bulgaria. And in these places, you could buy a house in a piece of land for $7,000. I actually watched a documentary of a gay couple who bought theirs on a credit card, and they maxed it out, and they managed to do up a house for £10,000. And that was, I think, Romania or Bulgaria. Yeah. And there were many other examples, and I did a few bits of research. And you need to do a lot of research, but what we cannot dispense with is prayer, and to make sure that God really wants us to go wherever it is, no matter how much money it is. It's not about the cost. If it's expensive, God will provide for it. If it's cheap, God will provide for it. But God wants us to be in the right place. Like I said earlier, God is training missionaries here and everywhere, but they need to spread, just like what was afforded in Jerusalem, especially AD 70. They were scattered, never to meet again on earth. But as they scattered, that was the spreading of the gospel. And it went to every corner, to the extent that people like Paul were saying the gospel had been preached in the first century to the whole world. And that was the front runner of the loud cry of the third angel, which is now. Again, the gospel has to be preached to every corner of the whole world, and Christ will come.
In addition to that as well, if you can show the government that you are trying to do anything in their country to help the citizen, they will gladly grant you stay in that country, especially in parts of Africa and Asia.
I was talking to a gentleman, he's a student, where Ellen White and some of the pioneers were faced with the government trying to shut down some of the work that was happening. And because the work was of this helping nature, medical missionary, and most of the time being done for free. And these people knew that these Christians, these Adventists, are looking for our good. And basically, the people threatened the government to not touch that project. And I was asking him if he can scrum it up, but he didn't. He couldn't get it up. But what am I saying? I'm saying you saw that in the Bible, that Tabitha or Dorcas, she died, but because she had done so much good work to people, people had to petition Christ and to see what he could do about it. And the woman was resurrected. That's the same thing. If we, like the elder is saying, if we go out to actually do ministry and not to profit ourselves and not to create just our own health businesses or whatever it is at the expense of people, it won't work. But if we are true missionaries and seeking to help out and to help people actually in a salvific way, then not only will God bless the work and provide what we need, but also these people will defend the work because they know the work is benefiting them. And like the elder is saying now, even the governments, when they see that some of their burdens are being taken care of, I think if you read books like Ministry of Healing, Sister White talks about help for the homeless. And she said country living is a solution to homelessness because they don't have jobs here. They are probably, as they are being called, the useless class. But once in the country, they can be so useful that even the government can see the fruits from a social perspective, that they will be willing to have us there because we are helpful people. Sister Sharon.
Thank you. I'm just thinking that, obviously prayerfully moving forward, and you would think about going to these countries. Who would you go to? Because obviously you don't know anybody there. I mean, is it to the church? I mean, there's many ministries in England, but when you're going abroad, you don't really know anybody. So the gentleman that gave the testimony, he was there, but who did he go to? Did he go to the church? Because you wouldn't be able to sleep on the streets. So how do you, who do you connect with when you get on that other side? Because you want to do the witnessing and things, so you need to be able to network with people that are already out there doing things.
I was going to answer you. There's a testimony that was shared, a very similar testimony that was shared at the beginning of the lockdowns, and it was of an English couple. They were Jamaican, and they prayed. This is why I'm saying prayer is indispensable. And the answer is go to God first. Before anything, go to God. Their testimony went this way. They prayed, and the wife had a dream, I think, that they should go to Zimbabwe. And there's a growing Jamaican population in Zimbabwe. It's always been since I was a child, but it's actually a growing community. But they were told to go there. Most of the Jamaicans there are pretty much Rastafarians and all that, not necessarily missionaries or Christians. So they were told to go there. And the husband did Manoah thing where he asked God to confirm it. He asked God to confirm it. So they went to church here in England, one of our churches, SDA churches. And the pastor preached. And during the lunch break, the pastor, they said, called them to the side and he said, God has told me to tell you something. And he said, God told me that you should go to Southern Africa. And for them, that was a confirmation enough. And then they went to Zimbabwe. Long story short, I'm sure they're still there. They came back here after the flights were allowed, but they were locked down in Zimbabwe, and that's where they spent the first few months of the lockdown. And they had lessons to learn and a lot of blessings. They're living in the western city in Zimbabwe, Bulawayo. But that's how God led them, and that's how God can lead some of us. But if we pray about these things, first of all, like the testimony that we're going to be sharing in Brother Justin's, it's not every case is going to be the same. It's not a motif for how God is going to deal with everyone. But God will open doors. And yes, like the elder was saying, the Foreign Office is somewhere to dialogue with, even if there is brethren there. But if not, maybe search if there is maybe the church, self-supporting ministries, but allow God to lead and not let's not run before God.
Brother, I just wanted to add that as you had said earlier on, we're not supposed to really, go out into country living and live just for ourselves, but also to use the right-hand message of the health ministries. We had an experience where we took a group of boys, we trained them up based in Holloway Church, North London, to do health checks in terms of blood pressure. We were given a stall at the business centre in Islington, and the stall would cost £2,000 to hire. Every year they would have a black hair and fashion show there, and we were given these stalls free. So there were security guards, mainly white. All of them were white security guards, getting ready to pack up. Before getting ready to pack up, the black boys did blood pressures on the white security men. But prior to that, they were very aggressive. The white security guards, they were very aggressive. Now we were winding down, getting ready to leave the premises, and they were very aggressive to the other stall holders. But because these young black guys did their blood pressure, they said to them, you can take as long as you need to pack. I'm saying this to say that when we do health ministries, Ellen G. White says it breaks down racism.
Amen.
So that's our right-hand tool to anywhere we go in this world, we can, align ourselves with other Seventh-day Adventists, brethren and sisters, anywhere we go in this world, and give the idea that we're going to do a health program. In a Muslim community, we're going to do some health checks. That will break down racism. It breaks down barriers. So there's no need for us to feel isolated or anxious, because we have this tool to help break down these barriers. That's all I would like to say. Thank you.
Amen.
Amen. Amen.
The message is the right end of the gospel. And that's what Christ did. In fact, Christ spent more time healing than preaching. And that book, Ministry of Healing, even for us, I'm not a trained medical missionary, but I know a lot about medical missionary, and I shared the little that I know. I have seen that book break down many barriers. I can even share, during the lockdown, we were going out distributing books at protests, and when the officials were asking, what are you doing? We're just sharing some health information in a health crisis. They'll leave us alone. So it
Exactly.
is the right hand of the gospel, and it opens the doors where things are otherwise.
And she says also, just to interject there, she says that every Seventh-day Adventist member, including children, we should be open to be taught. Exactly, yes.
She said two things: every Adventist, a colporteur, and every Adventist.
Yes.
I was helping in Chester 2 weeks ago. They did a health expo, and we had a lady come in who you might remember, Brother Talent. Apparently she originally, she's a white lady, about 50, fairly tall, and she originally got interested through Barbara O'Neill. She told me when she first started watching Barbara O'Neill, she wasn't interested in Christianity at all. And when Barbara O'Neill was quoting the Bible, she kind of just ignored it. But as time went on, she got to really like Barbara O'Neill. But then she met you and Ian and the team in Liverpool during the lockdowns when you were, the protest there. She was one of the protesters.
I remember her. I remember her.
Anyway, this lady, you gave her a Ministry of Healing and a Great Controversy, and I guess Health Magazine, and she's read them and she's accepted much of the Adventist message as a result of that now, from somebody who was pretty much not interested in Christianity. She's now going sometimes to the church in Chester, and she came to the Health Expo and spent quite a bit of time talking with us there. So the Lord is really leading her, and it's just tremendous, really, how He's led her. And and I thought you might like to just hear how she's getting on. The Lord's still leading.
I also met her when Barbara O'Neill came down to Stoke, and we had a good talk because she was still not quite confident with the Advent message, but she believed in what Barbara O'Neill was doing, and that's how God opens. And she then said, I am going to actually read these books. And so when we met her in Liverpool, she was telling people to get the books, even though she was not quite convinced. But she says they are good books, and there was a group of people who had refused the books, about 10 of them. And then she turned out and said, oh, I know these people, and I know Barbara O'Neill. And then all of them without exception got those books because of her. Those who would like to be we've got a WhatsApp group, and that's just to keep each other warm and motivated. We've got a WhatsApp group for discussing the country living matters, even tips of what we can do, what we can use, things that we are going to need, even some nifty skills. You can share your number if that is something that you would like to see done, we can, I mean, you can share your number and join the group, and we'll keep these discussions going, prayers going. We have already started seeing some results. Some people are saying they've moved, and they've attributed it to the prayers that you, brethren, have been praying. And some of the people have moved now to better places than where they were. Thank you all for coming. Also, just so you know, the YouTube algorithms have been now shadow banning and censoring what we have been putting in. So we have even seen views drop from a higher number to a lower number. And that's just the enemy trying to stop the work from happening. So by sharing, by watching, you are helping the mission to go even much further.